Okay.
All right.
Okay, so now we hit go live and that's it?
Go live, then that's it.
Cool. Let's do it.
You ready?
Yep.
Go live. Going live. Hello YouTube, we're back. Coach Smith is here to give you our next installment.
Yep. Hi, Lee Smith here from.
Cool.
Okay, let's do a proper introduction. Lee Smith, Blood and Iron, and Nicole Smith, Blood and Iron, and this is a non-Blood and Iron podcast. Oh man, like, can you believe that? So before we start, regular disclaimer: our opinions do not represent that of our students.
Nope, not in the least. This is all us.
Exactly. So again, our students are the salt of the earth. Amazing people. They do not represent our opinions. Disclaimer 2, said it twice. The third time makes it official. Our students do not always agree with our opinions.
In fact, they sometimes tell us, please stop doing this, but...
We do it anyway. I guess as you get older, you stop caring so much.
Mm-hmm.
So, third disclaimer, again, our opinions are our own. Awesome. So today's topic is going to be on judging, officiating, and HEMA. I mean, it's a little controversial, but it's been controversial since day one. So it's not like it's ever changed in level of controversy. It goes up and down throughout the years, but it is what it is, right?
Yeah. I mean, historically, tournaments have always been, whose ever backyard you're playing in gets to make up the rules, and sometimes it's good and sometimes it's bad.
Sometimes experimental and you like what you see, and sometimes you don't like what you see. And that's the thing too, is trying to balance the fairness is tricky, and then trying to maintain martial accuracy, also tricky, and then trying to find people who want to judge is also tricky, because judging, before we start, judging is a thankless job.
Oh God, yeah.
I don't even know how many hours of my life I've given to standing in the middle of a tournament ring.
Or on the edge. Well, you're always in the middle, but I've spent my time judging, and trust me, you're right of being a thankless job, and the people that get upset with the bad calls and whatnot, you're putting in your time. It's you be kind to your judges.
Yeah, honestly, when I say it sucks, there's a lot of things I'd rather do, especially when I'm in Las Vegas, than judge. And one of them involves alcohol, copious amounts of it.
Yeah.
And the other involves cigars. So I mean,
Okay.
come on, the cigar bar was pretty nice.
Okay. All right. No.
But
I
the
get
judging is a job that has to be done, right? There's no way around. We can't have tournaments without judges, really, especially in a competitive martial arts scene. It just isn't possible. To maintain fairness, we need judges, which means that people have to put their time in to do with what is essentially a very thankless job.
Yes, we're not at the point where we can actually pay people to do this, so yes, always bear that in mind.
Hello, people watching, and yes, we'll be continuing to talk about this. Hopefully, we'll promote what we're doing a little more in advance. We're hoping to do every second Sunday. That's currently the plan. But I mean,
As most things in life, things happen, and like I said, we're planning on every other Sunday, but we'll do what we can to stick to that.
But Vancouver is a pretty busy place in summer. We're constantly in demonstrations. We do a whole bunch of stuff. And in the fall, it kind of peters down and gets to normal. But yeah, so it'll be pretty good. So as we go back to judging, so thankless job. So when we start talking about what makes a good judge, and I mean, this is going to be probably the bulk of our talk today, is what makes a good judge. And can you just train no one to be someone who's never done HEMA to be a judge? And can you train someone who doesn't fight to be a judge? I mean, these are all controversial opinions in the HEMA community. And some people agree, some people disagree. I just look at experience for fighting for 12 years, and I can tell you what I think. Some people are free to disagree, free countries, but we'll see, right, as we go through this.
Well, that's one thing about our being involved in our club, is we've had so many years of so many events that we've gone to. First off, when we started off as competitors and just going out and seeing how things were run, and then as we started to get more into the scene, hosting and running things ourselves. So we've got a pretty good perspective on, what is out there as well. We've been there.
Yeah, we've definitely been there. And I mean, sometimes calls go your way and sometimes calls don't. So when things started out, to avoid to avoid confusion with SCA fighting and stuff, we actually self-calling in law terms was banned in the beginning. So it's one of those things that was controversial in itself. So a lot of people banned the self-call.
Yeah, the reason we did that is what we found a lot of times in SEA groups, not any group in particular, but just the fact that it relied on the honor system. Okay, so what happens when the person you're fighting is ignoring your shots? You know,
That's
you
where
can't.
we started.
Yeah,
So.
exactly. So our theory is get that out of the picture. So you're not totally relying on this person to call their shots
Let's
and
be
then feeling
honest.
bad about it afterwards.
Let's be honest, it wasn't our theory, it was someone else's theory, and we weren't really involved in the judging at that time, we were
Sure
involved in
enough.
officiating.
Yes.
So we just kind of went along with it to see it, so it's something new for us too.
Mhm.
And like in going back to the SCA thing, you've seen a lot of people who were like, well, for the most part, I'd say 99%, 95% really good about taking their shots, and then you have your 5% who
They just wreck it for everyone.
oh, they completely wreck it for everyone. You hit a guy in the head, shoot his head back, and then be either too hard or too soft.
Well, that'll be
just wouldn't take it.
glance. You missed.
Oh, glance. Yeah, I remember that. Like tons of that. Oh, glance. Yeah,
Mhm.
sure. So I mean, then you hit him really hard.
Cloth. That was another favorite of mine. Cloth.
Oh yeah, like
Yeah.
everyone had like after a while, people just armored up in the biggest shirt they had. It was always cloth. Until you just line drove the person. Like I mean, everybody did at that point.
Yeah.
But I mean, that was part of that thing we tried to avoid in the greater HEMA community. So we went into a strict judging system, and I mean, it has its own problems because sometimes you'd be in a tournament where like one person had judging experience, so you have to play your opponent toward the judge,
Mm-hmm.
and then hopefully that judge would see that hit, because the other person wasn't allowed to call it.
Yeah.
Sometimes the judging got so bad, like Axel Persson, I think, was the first person I seen do this, whereas like I hit him in the head probably 4 times and no one saw his hit, and finally in front of the judges he just walked up and put his head down and pointed at it. Didn't know what the hell he was doing, and then
Or what he wanted. Yeah.
and then he's like, hit me in the head. I was like, okay. I tapped him in the head, and they gave me 4 points for it. He's like, there we go. And I was like,
I remember that actually.
I was
yeah.
really confused by this. It was really cool of him, but I
Yeah.
was like really, really confused by it.
Mhm.
So I was like, asked him after, what was that about? He's like, no, it got ridiculous. I had to make sure that you weren't screwed out of this.
Well, he's one of the few out there that doesn't want to hit unless it's actual.
Yeah,
you know,
he's a
his
good-
point.
he's
Like,
a
he's
good-
not.
he's
He's
a
not
good-
going to take points away from someone if he doesn't deserve. They don't deserve it.
Yeah,
or
he's a good
whatever.
competitor. But I mean, that's like pretty much like gaming the rules in that sense too, right?
Mhm.
So it's one of those things that, you know, we look back like on the danger of not having the self-call system as well. And so you have that, and then you have like kind of a hybrid system, which is what we're using now, is you have self-calls as well as the judges.
Yeah, I mean the judges do the calling, and then if you feel that you were hit, yeah, you can totally tell us. But yeah,
It still requires some work though.
yes.
Like it's still like it's not perfect yet, and I don't think it's ever going to be perfect.
Well, the problem is it's just people miss things. You have a bad angle. You know, the people were in front of you. You blinked at the wrong time. Whatever it is, people are human. They're going to make mistakes, and you know we're going to miss things.
Flashing Sword asks, I see a lot of HEMA tournaments where you're allowed to correct judges in self-call. Oh yeah, we still do that. We still practice that. The judges at the end, the judge and director at the end, I should clarify, has the complete say.
Yeah.
Like if they say, if like there's like we in VHG we had a lot of self-calling, which is great, really good honor. And
But sometimes people are too generous. Like they'll just feel something and they'll automatically give it to their opponent, even
or
if
hear something even.
yeah, and they'll just automatically call it just because they feel that they were hit. But it's not always a good hit. So that's where the judges and the director will come in and say, yes, thank you for letting us know, but we think it was tippy, it was insufficient, that kind of a thing.
The thing is that False Edge says, I wouldn't trust fighters at high levels to call self-call. I would totally disagree. Sean Fackler and I have had many fights. I move pretty fast, and the judge and we can self-call with no issues. Rob Childs, another guy, he can call self-call with no issues. I would actually say the higher level fighters are better at self-calling than really probably anyone else.
Yeah.
You know if you're hit, like you really do. If a hit is a clean, skillful hit, and it's like has a good thrust or good cut, you know you're hit. Like you're well aware. Like there's just no way around it.
Yeah, and if you're in a tournament and you're actually trying to apply a more martial standpoint, then yeah, you're not going to accept anything that's less than a
I
cut.
won't feel a touch at all. I will feel a good blow though for sure.
Mhm.
And I mean, like, I came out of, like, when I came out of Combat Con last year, man, I was covered in bruises. Believe me, I knew where I was hit every time.
Yep.
Like, I could see where I'd been hit. It was like a definite, like, I was hit for sure. So, and you get hit in the mask, you'll know for sure. Good evening, Herman Long. I just see this right here.
Oh, hi. Hello.
So yeah, I would say, like, honestly, the high level fighters can definitely self call. They probably self call better than anyone.
Mm-hmm.
And it's more like the question is the hit going to be good? And we'll get into that later, right? Is the hit going to be good? And that is the real point of contention. But before we get into that, we'll go back on track and talk about, like, the different type of stuff. There's also a version of self calling I've seen, like Swordfish and a couple of the other European tournaments, where you can contest the judge and call for yourself. Now, I don't particularly like that. I think that can be abused, and from what I've seen, it looks like it can be pretty easily abused. They can go to video replay, but that's, in a lot of tournaments, time does not exist in that.
Oh god, yeah.
Got
We're
rid
so
of that.
pressed for time in most of the tournaments that we run that it would be really problematic to have to stop everything and review video for almost every encounter.
Yeah, that would be pretty brutal. So I mean, and yeah, people will, and Herming Long writes, it would depend on the fighter, honestly. And to be honest, one shoddy call is one thing.
Yeah.
Some people, like, you're gonna miss some things. No one's 100% of the time.
True.
Even the best of the best will absolutely miss some things.
But
But
sometimes it just doesn't register right away. Like, there have been times where you've been hit and it takes a couple of seconds before, oh yeah, that's right, there was an arm or there was something. So yeah, we've had that happen too.
with that said, though, I would say most people, like, I would say the fighter is going to be still more accurate than the judge. Judges in that sense play almost a stand up, like basically a, what would the word be, like kind of a safeguard role.
Okay.
So they kind of make sure things are done. Imagine self-calling in other martial arts. Benign or design? Yeah, actually, it does fly. So some people, yeah, there are self-calling in different in other martial arts too. So I mean,
I'm not as familiar with other martial arts, so I'm not going to comment on that one.
actually, funny enough, that brings us into short blades.
Oh, yeah.
So we can talk about short blades, kind of a hybrid between FMA and HEMA, and everyone self-called there, from the FMA guys to the HEMA guys. So, and that was absolutely no problems. So yeah, people, and like, I mean, so that the question is like, can people do it? Yep. The FMA guys have no problem with it, and you're the HEMA guys at short blades, and that's always been the case at that event. And it's kind of nice.
False Edge, exactly as HEMA grows, people will practice only to compete and win.
It depends on which route we take, or which brand of HEMA. We're starting to see, like, I would say 3 definitive brands of HEMA coming forward. We'll probably see a 4th as well.
Yeah, and also too, as it progresses, we are going to get more trained judges, and we'll get to a point where that will also help things out a bit. So it is. The future remains to be seen.
The future definitely remains to be seen. But we go back to short blades. Mm-hmm. So let's look at short blades. It's kind of an anomaly event, right? You have different martial art styles fighting each other, right? Mm-hmm. And we can start talking about, like, kind of like what we require in judging. And it's kind of cool because we have a guy, one of our partners down in Bellevue, Washington, Belton Lubis. And man, he is a fantastic judge. He's never done HEMA. Doesn't do HEMA. He's a fairly high level FMA practitioner, not very high level FMA practitioner. Yep. He is like receiving a very prestigious award in the next couple weeks, and he's deadly stick fighter, deadly knife fighter. Guy is like very very high tier martial artist. And you know what? He's one of the best judges. Incredible, great eyes, super fast eyes. Guy can see pretty much everything. Knows a good hit from a bad hit. And I mean, this is like something we can talk about now. It's like looking at a guy who has no HEMA training.
But he's still a good judge.
Like an outstanding judge. I would put him in any HEMA tournament anywhere, and he'd better than 90% of the judges I see.
Now, one of the things...
Bar none.
Yeah, one of the things that talking about being a good judge and we feel is absolutely essential is having sparring experience. Well, Belton has tons of sparring experience.
Coaching experience, sparring experience. Like, he has tons of fighting experience. Mm-hmm. The guy's an incredible martial artist, and as a result, he can see what the fighters are doing very clearly.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter that he's from a different martial discipline.
Well, no, it's all the same. As it's coming at you, you need to make those split decisions and see what is happening, what's going to happen to you. So sort of standing off to the sidelines and trying to interpret what's happening makes it a little easier.
Yeah, he's great, and I mean and I bet you there's other guys out there in the FMA community that we haven't encountered yet that probably are going to have that same level of skill.
Yeah.
Herman Leung, I'm imagining a HEMA practitioner playing up a hit like a soccer player. It would be a funny sight. It's happened.
Well,
yeah, it's happened.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah,
I missed
people
that
like
one.
I got hit too hard
Oh,
no, that's not just that. It's happened a few
Yeah.
different occasions where someone plays the hard hit to get the person a point deduction. In some rule sets, they allow for a point deduction if you hit too hard, and that way the person's afraid to hit them again, and then they can take advantage of it. That style of rules gaming, it has happened. It's like, and you know, you're aware of the people who are doing it. You make notes. How late am I, folks? Oh, you're right on time. We're going for a while, so. So yeah, so I mean, it does happen. Force levels. Makes you ask about force levels. Yeah. Now, question is, that whole idea of force levels. That goes to what's a good hit and a bad hit. What's proper rotation and what's just baseball bat swinging.
Yeah, I mean, yes, you want to engage your core and all the rest of it, but you don't want to literally be clubbing the person that you're supposed to be sparring with. I mean, we're all competitors. We're all there to have fun. We don't want to go home broken. That's not the plan.
I would look at it more of a perspective of like, so when a person hits someone, was it like with good rotation, right? Was it a martial hit? If it was a martial hit, then, you know, sometimes it's going to hit hard. Like, it's a fighting tournament. Like, it's going to happen. Now, if the guy winds up and just holds a baseball bat swing and just is swinging like a bat with no defense, then I think you're looking at different ideas for what we call force level. Or if a guy absorbs a hit to hit someone back super hard, now you have a force level problem.
Yeah.
Like legitimate, like this guy doesn't care about defense. He's not even defending himself. He's just there to smash the other person. And yeah, I've seen that, and we've had to like give warnings out. Usually one warning suffices. People don't want to be booted from a tournament, and if they know you're a serious director, they'll boot you. And you know you get booted. They'll give you the warning.
Yeah. Well, nobody wants to get kicked out of a tournament, especially if you paid money to be there.
Oh yeah, that's exactly it. I mean, we had to kick a guy out once for throwing knee kicks.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't even like the head director on that.
That was Jesse Tucker, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
Tucker was head director then, and he basically, I got called down from having a nap because I've been working all day, and it's like we have a situation, and I'm like, oh god, what now? So I come down, and it's like this dude's throwing knee kicks, and I'm like, I need to see video. I can't just take. Oh, that's bad. And it's like legitimately taking a hit to throw a knee kick, and I'm like, all right, you're bandstands. We understand. So Tucker had to deal with that once, and I've seen that a couple times, but usually people are pretty cool. You're like, hey man, don't kick people in the knees, thanks. So that tends to be a thing with force levels. You don't necessarily need a guy. Whatever. Anyway, you don't need to like talk like having the whole force levels thing. You will have people hit hard. It is a martial arts tournament. Sometimes it's almost unavoidable. I mean, I'd have never escaped one without a few bruises.
Oh no, it's a martial art. I would expect you would have a few bruises if someone's going to land a hit. I mean, that's a given. Or at least it should be understood.
Yeah, it should be understood. So I mean,
now other things that we tend to think of for judging, not just your sparring.
ooh, the body slam. I knew that was gonna come up.
Oh, sorry.
The older video on the body slam performed in a tournament. Right? Oh, I don't think you saw that video.
No.
It got brought to me. Now, I don't know the person involved in the body slam. I did see it. I watched it like probably 8-9 times.
What event was this?
I don't know, some event in California.
Okay.
It was a while back though, so I'm surprised. I'm surprised that I got brought up. But you know, so we'll talk about the body slam. I mean, first of all, I'm gonna say, like, outside of the guy hitting the other guy in the head, like he hit the guy in the head pretty solidly, and then the body slam was performed. So it's kind of like, The guy came in, soaked it to the head, and then performed the body slam.
Okay.
Now, I don't know what the tournament rules were. Some people said it was prohibited. Some people said it was allowed. I couldn't find a hard copy of the tournament rules, so I can't comment on that.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, I will say, if he wasn't hitting the head and the body slam was allowed, it was a nice execution of a body slam. That's SoCal. Oh,
Is that
wow.
what it was? Wow.
Wow, SoCal. I didn't know that. That I missed Flashing Sword.
Mm-hmm.
That I did not see. But I would like to, I'm curious to see video of that.
Yeah. No.
All I saw was one in California that was the nefarious body slam that everyone went at. And I just thought that, I was like, well, the guy got hit in the head and then he threw a body slam. So, I mean, and his opponent looked like it hurt. But maybe, you know, I don't think it's appropriate to body slam someone after you get hit in the head. But, I mean, different rules do different things.
Yeah, well, that's going back to the rule sets being experimental, and you know, each event seems to want to come up with their own variety of things. So, you know, I guess it's on them if they allow for body slamming.
Well, it is. Well, it comes down to that. When you look, before you get to fight a tournament, the first thing you gotta do is you gotta look at the rules.
Oh God, yeah. If you're gonna sign up for something, know what you're getting into.
Yeah, for sure. That's got to be the first thing.
Mm-hmm.
And you can just avoid, like, if you see a tournament rule set like that, you don't like it, just avoid the tournament. Just don't bother going.
We always say this to people: vote with your wallet.
Yeah, always vote with your wallet.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I don't think it's necessarily a problem.
No.
But I mean,
You can float whatever rules you want out there. If people don't like them, they just won't come.
I remember when Sean Franklin that huge wrist lock into the armbar thing, and that was legal in our tournament at the time. It was pretty impressive. Like, I've never seen one do a match that sense. It was absolutely beautiful technique. But at the same time, I mean, like, some people would probably consider that excessive. But he didn't hurt the guy, and it was like, I would have not wanted to get locked like that.
What's your number one judging pet peeve?
Okay, so that's a lot of them.
Oh God! Opened up a can of worms. Now you
Yeah.
did.
Herman Leong asked this. So, all right. So one of my judging pet peeves,
Mhm.
non-fighters judging, probably my number one.
Yes.
And I mean, we're going to have to talk about that in detail, but non-fighters judging, and that is a really hard one, because you only have so many volunteers in an event, right? And most of your fighters at this point aren't retired, so you don't have a pool of fighters to work from
Yeah.
that are.
Basically, if you're competing in an event, you're also judging at the event. And it gets to your point where, you know, if you're asked to do too much, you get burnt out. We really want to avoid that.
Yeah, like, I mean, that's exactly it. It's tough, right? But I would say for me, it's non-fighters judging and directing.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem is they can't see the fighting very accurately. They're kind of making judgment calls on stuff they don't really understand.
Yeah.
And I would say that's probably the major pet peeve I have. For experienced judges, it's looking at another judge.
Yes.
That drives me nuts. But you know what? People do it. It's a psychological thing. They train themselves not to, but as they get tired, they'll look up and look for the approval of their peer.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's nothing personal. It's nothing against that person. In fact, you actually talk to people 9 times out of 10, they don't realize you're doing it.
No. And that's why if you're making a call, first thing you should do is look at the ground, make your call. Nothing else.
Exactly, and that takes training and time and experience. And even the best people will catch themselves doing that after a long day of judging. And a lot of that, I think, is queued up to exhaustion.
Yeah, you're just really, really tired mentally, and it's easier just to sort of get the consensus and everybody agrees.
Pirata Sports writes, a variety of rules helps people changing the art to suit combined rules. Oh, stop people from basically just fighting to the rules. In a sense, that's true.
Mm-hmm. You will see it. I mean, every tournament, people will look for ways to win.
Of course,
and if they
there's
can,
no way around
if they can use the rules to do that, they will. And that's where, you know, designing your rule set, you have to keep things in mind.
And change it up periodically here and there,
Yeah.
or see that your rule set has a hole and then fix it accordingly,
Yeah.
right? And just see what you can do to kind of make it better. With that said, a good director can stop a lot of rules gaming. They can be like, hey, I know you're gaming it. Like, you need to stop that. One of the reasons, like, in most higher level tournaments, or at least really good tournaments now, you see directors out there who are have a lot more power. They're honest people. They'll just stop the problem right away. But honestly, I'm not encountering as many of these people anymore. So, you know, it is what it is. Like,
Yeah, well, the director can make or break a ring. I mean, you really do
oh,
have
that's true.
you absolutely have to have control of what's happening inside and around your ring. Keeping on top of your judges and making sure they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, and just part of the job keeping your fighters safe, that too, and it really does come down to taking a stand sometimes. No, you do what you're told, or you're gonna points deduction, you're gonna get tossed out of here, and backing that up.
The false edge, wrist lock, and armbar. I'm pretty sure that was on the SoCal 2014 or 2015 promo video. It was pretty cool. Like, I'm not gonna lie, it looked like the wrist lock armbar. Maybe it was just the armbar. It's been a while since I saw the video, but it was impressive looking. Like, it really was. So it's one of those promo videos that Jonathan Ng put up, and it was like, man, it was one of the cooler things to see on video, at least for the time, right? I mean, things get dated after a while. The art's improved since then.
Oh God, when I think back to where we started and how much things have changed since way back then.
Oh yeah.
Oh jeez.
Well, even the judging and everything from back in the day has changed.
Well, I remember the very first tournament that we went to, the Festival America, and that what was it, the JUSAC tournament, and did the camera just turn off?
The camera died? Check it. So I think our camera might have died. We have a camera guy with us today.
And hopefully we get this thing fixed. Okay.
Restart it?
Yeah, we're gonna have to restart it, guys. Hang on just a second. We'll be back in a couple minutes.
So how do we fix that?
Okay, so end stream.